according to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, and some others around the league, Lamar Jackson is sort of being represented by not an accredited agent that has to go through the NFLPA and get certified, but somebody who works as a financial advisor who's helped some NFL players in the past. So he can't negotiate a deal, but this person is calling around to teams and reportedly telling them that Lamar Jackson is, quote, ready to move on from the Ravens.
Great.
So that's what we have. It's impossible, Perloff, for me not to think that Lamar Jackson may have cost himself a ton of money here. I don't see how he played this well. Unless we get a team that comes out of the blue and it says, here, I'm ready to drop 200, 230, whatever $million in your lap. How did Lamar not look at the apparently 3 years, $133 million that the Ravens offered last year and say, I want that deal? He'd be 2 years closer now to getting to free agency, and I don't think he's signing a long-term deal. I think he's going to end up signing a short-term deal with the Ravens, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, no, looking back on it, when you put it that way, he definitely should have signed. The problem is, how much are we in a week or 2 weeks into free agency? There's nowhere else. There's not a lot of places for him to go. So his market has shrunk. The Ravens seem to be holding all the leverage now because they have him on this $32 million tag. There's no way he's making that big money right now. I think the biggest factor is that teams do not want to negotiate for the Ravens.
I get that.
I don't think that,
especially an AFC team.
I don't think the Indianapolis Colts want to go out there and put a $200 million, let's say $220 deal on the table and get rejected for a player that I'm not sure people are 100% convinced of. Here's an underlying issue with this. Do we think Lamar Jackson is a top 5 quarterback? I don't think the NFL views him as that because of the injury risk and the lack of passing production that he's had. There's 2 question marks there.
Okay, but the lack of passing production, I think, can be explained by the fact that the Ravens were lacking in receiver talent, did not put as many resources as they possibly could towards receiver talent, and the offense they were running with offense coordinator Greg Roman was a primarily running offense.
Well, that can be explained, but are you willing to risk $100 million that that's the case?
For me, it's more about his knee. Like, his knee, ankle, whatever, the lower body stuff that cost him to miss 10 games. I swear, if he did not miss those 10 games, 11 games, he missed the playoffs too, 11 games, I think he would have had multiple suitors. I think that's what's scaring people away more than anything. And the fact that he's asking for a mass guarantee, which means the owners have to put a lot of that away in an escrow account that can't be touched.
Totally.
And how many owners are like that liquid? I don't know how many have $150 to $160 million to put in a bank account, essentially, that can't be touched.
Well, I don't think you can separate the health issue from the lack of passing because he's 26. He needs to change his game or he's not going to last. So some quarterbacks have done that. I know Donovan McNabb did in Philly. I think Steve Young successfully did it in San Francisco, turned from a running quarterback to a pocket quarterback. I think that at a certain point, teams are looking at, well, this is a 4-year deal. How many games are we going to get? Because Lamar is going to run. He has an enormous amount of running carries behind him.
Yeah.
His legs have taken a lot of hits. So it all is part of the same thing. But, okay, this hypothetical question out there. If your guy, Josh Allen, was on this market, would it all look different?
Well, if Josh Allen missed 5 games in the last 2 years, it might actually look different. Now, the thing about Allen, though, is Allen really has proven. Listen, I think Lamar's got a great arm, but Allen has proven that he really can throw outside the numbers. Like, has proven that he's got every tool in the toolbox, you know?
Well, great. Yeah, it's not even about having a great arm. Arm strength is one thing. No, it's about being accurate.
Accurate arm, can throw outside the numbers.
Lamar's not really proven that.
Lamar doesn't really throw outside the numbers. It's more of like a middle of the field kind of game, which, again, I think that can be totally chalked up to the offensive coordinator. Like, if Lamar Jackson was in Buffalo with Brian Daboll before and Ken Dorsey now, does he look like a different quarterback? He might.
I think he'd still run 17 times a game. I mean, he's knocking out 8 or 9 pass plays that the coordinator has called by scrambling. So there's just no – how is his pass game going to be – how is he going to throw for more than 3,200 yards if he takes off so much?
Yeah,
and do you think he
discipline or better receivers. If he had Stephon Diggs, maybe it's different.
That seems like a leap to me. I don't. I think it's an unknown. Yeah, the thing is too. Don't you want Lamar Jackson to run? That's the other part. He's unbelievable.
Well, just like I want Josh Allen to run. I mean, I do want them both to run. Thing. I want Daniel Jones to run. I want
Daniel Jones.
Kyler Murray to run.
Daniel Jones to not run once in a.
He runs all the time too.
I think Daniel Jones is a more run-only quarterback. That's all he could do right well. So, and by the way, the Eagles caught up to him pretty good in the playoff round. Yeah. Nobody catches up to Lamar. But I think that's a really valid question. Can you keep that style for a long time? Listen, Cam Newton is throwing today at Auburn's Pro Day.
Yeah. And does that seem sad to anyone else? I don't know why I think that's sad. It shouldn't be, though. It's a guy who's still trying to play, trying to prove that he can play. That should not be looked at as being sad, but I can't help but feel bad for the guy.
Well, of course. He was a former MVP. He shouldn't have to work out at Auburn's Pro Day. But his style of play just didn't last. He took way too many shots. And also, I think Cam, even more than Lamar Jackson, was such a big target out there. I don't think Josh Allen's going to last if he keeps running this way.
I think it's a miracle he hasn't gotten hurt thus far, like significantly. I'm going to knock on wood right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to stay in the pocket more, just get rid of the ball. Tom Brady played forever by just throwing a million screen passes.
Yeah, but that's also because Tom Brady couldn't do what... He can't scramble like Josh Allen.
Absolutely.
Not even close to Lamar Jackson.
Right. So in a way, that lack of athletic ability helped him very much because he played more of a point guard and just distributed the ball. Can Lamar Jackson do that?
Well, you're also then taking away something that makes him really special.
I know. It's a catch-22.
See, here's the thing. If Lamar would be willing, like, if you're the Colts, for example, or, we've seen a lot of that sort of linked the last couple days. You're looking for a new face of the franchise. You haven't had stability at the quarterback position. All of those things. Would you do a 3-year deal for, whatever, 180, 200, whatever it's going to take?
Get him from 26 to 29. Yeah.
And it looks like maybe Lamar's willing to do. Would he be willing to do something like that now? Because he's out there now and nothing is happening.
Well, right, but we know if it's a 3-year deal. Unless the numbers are so insane that Baltimore is just going to match that, and we're done.
Yeah.
And then where does Indianapolis left?
In the draft. They got the 4th pick in the draft.
And even, you could make an argument that Indianapolis should just go quarterback there, too.
Well, that's
get 5 years of cost certainty.
Think about this. And I know the owners can always be the wild cards here. But if you're a general manager and your owner is saying, okay, what should we do? Should we go after Lamar Jackson? And you're the Colts and you have the 4th overall pick. You're like, well, you can either spend $200 million or you could not do that. I think a lot of owners are like, all right, we won't. We'll start over the young guy.
But, this year's draft, you are taking huge projects.
That's true.
Will Levis and Richardson have had very little passing success. And C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young I think Bryce Young has big question marks because of his size. So the owner is going to be like...
And Stroud has question marks because, unfortunately for him, this is not fair, but Ohio State quarterbacks haven't been awesome in the play.
Also, C.J. Stroud was not consistent last year by any means.
Yeah.
He was great at the end. So I think if you're Irsay and you put on the tape of Will Levis... who Mel Kiper just gave in his mock draft today, gave to the Colts at number 4. And then you put on the tape of Lamar Jackson. I think you could make a compelling case to the owner, hey, it's worth the short-term money. Right?
Oh, my gosh. Well, Lamar would blow Levis out of the water.
Yeah, he'd blow all those guys out of the water. Except maybe Bryce Young's highlights are amazing. But I think you could make a really good argument for Lamar. The problem is there's just, Indianapolis could have this great offer. Not only will the Ravens match it, then Lamar will somehow... I don't think he's handled this perfectly well. He'll make a mess of the whole situation. The Colts will end up feeling or looking pretty bad.
Well, here's the thing. The ready to move on. Yeah. That was the new detail that came out today. So the question becomes, does Lamar and the Ravens, do they have enough of a relationship where if Lamar doesn't want to play for them anymore, do they say, listen, someone's going to make me an offer, say it's just big round number, say it's $200 million for 4 years or whatever it's going to be. And does he say to the Ravens, please don't match it?
Well, I don't know. I think he said, I'm ready to move on. I think that was a negotiation as well. If he's leaking that information out there, I do not think it's done with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. I think that report, to me, means nothing. Of course, Lamar Jackson's trying to get a contract. Of course he's going to say, I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, but that contract could end up being with the Ravens.
Yeah, I know.
That's the problem with this whole thing. So
he's getting leverage. He's telling Baltimore, don't screw around here. Give me the money or I'm going to walk. it's basic negotiations. If you were in a negotiation with your boss, you got to let your boss think, hey, I have other options. You got to let your boss think.
I know, but unfortunately,
you got to pay me or I'm walking out the door.
Unfortunately for Lamar, like, this is open. It's like, I don't know if they have to make the offer sheets public, but I would imagine it's going to become public.
Right.
So you can't even say, hey, I've got an offer from company X. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Like, we're all going to find out.
Yeah, but you're already hearing about this weird level of information, Lamar's people and things. First of all, teams that are negotiating, they could talk to Lamar and sort of make an offer to his people and then not put it out there and not make an offer sheet. There's all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, it is the most confusing. Aaron Rodgers is simple compared to Lamar Jackson. It's been, 2 years now that we've had this strange negotiation where he puts out these cryptic tweets. Just, I don't know. I'm a little annoyed with the situation. I'm a little annoyed with Lamar.
Well, I think he's costing himself money.
Why does he come out and say what he wants to?
I don't think he can. I think he's, like you said, you got to keep it sort of like nebulous. You got to keep it in the ether. Like, I might go back to Baltimore, but I might want to move on and go somewhere else. Like, he shouldn't say anything right now.
Yeah, but he does say things, and they're bizarre. They're weird and confusing.
Well, when he said 133 over 3 years, who says I don't need an agent? It's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
you didn't sign the deal, so I think you probably still need someone.
Right, exactly. This is not going a good place. If he does go back to Baltimore, there's obviously going to be hurt feelings. But if he goes to this other team for $200 million, I'm very curious what Baltimore does. I mean, Indianapolis has got the 4 picks, so that's valuable. But look at it from Baltimore's point of view. If Lamar's ready to move on, and they seem ready to move on, who's their quarterback next year?
Well, I mean, you've probably figured that out with a bridge guy. But if I'm the Colts, I'm not doing this before the draft.
Yeah.
There's no chance I'm giving Baltimore the 4th overall pick. You get 2 first-round picks if they were going to sign Lamar. I'm waiting till after the draft. There's no urgency.
Well, unless another team.
Who? What? There's no other team. We don't even think the Colts are in it. This is all speculation.
Right. If it's not, the Colts and the Titans are almost the exact same position.
Honestly, I think they should both just do the tank for Caleb Williams or for Drake May.
Well, that's the problem.
The Colts have done this before. They've done an organizational tank. They can execute this.
I don't remember.
Should have kept Jeff Saturday.
Peyton Manning lost a neck vertebrae. I don't think that was a planned tank.
No, but it ended up coinciding very nicely with Andrew Luck coming out of college.
Right, but an organizational tank, I don't think that was planned by them. Well, it worked out great. It was much like David Robinson, Tim Duncan.
You've got a roadmap.
Yeah, they didn't plan it. Well, right. But let's not give them too much credit here. They got a little lucky that Peyton got hurt and they let him walk out the door. Remember David Robinson got injured and they got Tim Duncan? The Spurs, nobody knew about tanking then. They were not tanking. They just stunk.